Welcome, the spicy lady. Strength is not loud. True power is quiet, deliberate, and impossible to fake. Some habits are easy to see. Others are hidden, lived quietly, and only noticed when they make a difference. Spicy Lady Sigma habits fall into the second category. These are ways of thinking, acting, and responding that shape her life profoundly. Ordinary women may try to imitate what they see on the surface, but they cannot replicate the mindset behind it. That is what makes these habits impossible to copy. These habits are built on self-awareness, patience, and experience. They are about understanding people without being fooled, protecting energy without drama, and making decisions that serve the long term, not just the moment. They are about knowing when to speak, when to step back, and when silence itself becomes a tool. They involve observing patterns, noticing hidden intentions, and responding with precision. This video will show you habits that are subtle but powerful, habits that define influence and personal freedom. They are lessons learned the hard way, tested through experience, and refined over time. Once you understand them, you will see why some women move through life with unmatched clarity, calm, and control. Watch until the end because every point connects to the next. Miss one, and the full picture will not make sense. By the end, you will understand why these habits cannot be copied, only developed through deliberate self-mastery. These are not tricks or quick wins. They are ways of being that set extraordinary women apart from the ordinary. Let's dive in deeper. Point 1. She reads tone, timing, and behavior better than words. Language does not fool her for long. She understands something most people miss. Words are easy. Anyone can say the right thing when it benefits them. Anyone can apologize without meaning it, promise without intention, or speak kindly while planning otherwise. That is why she does not build trust on language alone. She watches how things are said, when they are said, and what happens afterward. Tone tells her more than vocabulary ever could. A calm voice with hidden irritation. A joke that carries disrespect. A compliment that feels rushed or forced. She notices these things instantly, not because she is suspicious, but because she pays attention. When someone's tone does not match their message, she pauses. That pause saves her from confusion later. Timing matters just as much. She notices who only calls when they need something, who shows up late when it matters but arrives early when it benefits them, who suddenly becomes kind after making a mistake. For her, timing reveals priorities. It shows where effort truly lives. People expose themselves through when they act, not just what they say. Behavior is the final truth. Patterns never lie. A person who keeps crossing small boundaries will eventually cross big ones. Someone who disappears during difficult moments but returns when things are easy is already telling a story. She does not argue with these patterns. She accepts them and adjusts her distance. For example, someone may say they respect her time yet cancel plans repeatedly without concern. She does not confront with emotion or demand explanations. She simply notes the behavior and stops overextending herself. No drama, no resentment, just clarity. This ability is not coldness. It is wisdom earned through experience. She has learned that listening deeply means watching more than hearing. Language may charm, distract, or delay the truth, but tone, timing, and behavior always expose it. Because of this, manipulation rarely lasts long around her. Confusion does not linger. Mixed signals do not trap her. She sees reality early and chooses peace over prolonged disappointment. That is why her decisions look quiet from the outside, but feel powerful on the inside. 2. She knows when to stay quiet, and when silence costs power, that discernment cannot be copied. She understands that silence is not always strength, and speaking is not always weakness. The real power is knowing the difference. Many people stay quiet out of fear, confusion, or the hope that things will somehow fix themselves. Others speak too quickly, revealing emotions, plans, or vulnerabilities that should have stayed protected. She does neither by accident. She stays quiet when words would expose her too early, when emotions are still settling, when people are watching closely, waiting for a reaction they can use. In those moments, her silence becomes a shield. It gives her time to observe, to think clearly, and to see how others move when they believe they are not being challenged. Silence allows truth to surface without interference. But she also knows when silence becomes dangerous, when staying quiet would mean accepting disrespect, when it would allow false narratives to grow, when it would slowly shrink her position or erase her presence. In those moments she speaks with calm precision. No unnecessary emotion, no over-explaining, just clear words that reset the situation. This discernment comes from experience, not confidence alone. She has seen what happens when silence is used in the wrong moment. Missed opportunities, boundaries crossed, people assuming agreement where none existed. She learned that power is not about being quiet or loud, but about timing. For example, in a work setting, she may stay silent during heated discussions, letting others reveal their intentions and weaknesses. But when a decision is about to be made that affects her role or value, she speaks up clearly and firmly. That single moment of speech carries more weight than constant talking ever could. In personal relationships, she may ignore small provocations, understanding they are designed to pull her into unnecessary conflict. But if a pattern of disrespect begins to form, she addresses it early, calmly, and directly. Silence is no longer useful there. Clarity is. This balance cannot be copied because it requires emotional control, self-trust, and awareness. It demands the ability to sit with discomfort without reacting and the courage to speak when silence feels safer. That combination is rare. It is not learned overnight. It is earned through mistakes, reflection, and growth. Point 3. She does not compete loudly. She makes competition irrelevant. She understands something most people never stop to question. Constant competition is often a sign of poor positioning. When people compete loudly, they are usually fighting for the same space, the same attention, and the same limited rewards. She chooses a different approach. Instead of proving she is better, she quietly places herself where comparison loses meaning. She observes first. She studies what everyone is chasing and asks a simple question: is this even worth chasing? Many times it is not. So while others are busy trying to outshine one another, she is building skills, knowledge, and depth that cannot be easily measured or challenged. This shift alone removes her from unnecessary battles. Her focus is on mastery, not rivalry. She invests in becoming so competent and self-aware that competition feels outdated. When you are deeply grounded in what you do not need to announce it. The work speaks through consistency, results, and reliability. People notice over time, even if she never asks them to. For example, in a workplace where everyone is trying to be seen as the most vocal or impressive, she may choose to become the most dependable. She solves problems quietly, follows through when others do not, and understands systems instead of personalities. Eventually, opportunities start moving toward her naturally because trust has been built, not demanded. In social spaces, she does not try to be the most admired or talked about. She builds strong one-on-one connections, protects her reputation, and keeps her standards clear. While others compare themselves endlessly, she is focused on alignment. That makes her presence feel solid and unthreatened. This habit takes patience. It requires the confidence to delay recognition and the discipline to resist distractions. Many try to copy the surface-level behavior by staying quiet or stepping back, but they struggle because they have not done the inner work. They still crave the win, the applause, the proof. She has already won by choosing a different game. By positioning herself wisely, she removes the need to compete at all. And when competition becomes irrelevant, power grows naturally without noise, without stress, and without losing herself in the process. 4. She accepts uncomfortable truths early, saving years of emotional debt. She has learned that comfort can be expensive. The longer you avoid the truth, the more interest it collects. Many people delay facing reality because it hurts in the moment. They ignore signs, explain away red flags, or hold on to hope long after evidence says otherwise. She chooses a harder path early, so life does not become harder later. Accepting uncomfortable truths means she listens to what reality is showing her, not what she wishes it would become. If someone's actions do not match their words, she does not argue with herself about it. She accepts it. If a situation feels draining, unbalanced, or one-sided, she does not romanticize the struggle. She names it for what it is and adjusts. This habit saves her years of emotional debt because she does not keep paying for the same lesson over and over. Emotional debt builds when you keep investing energy into things that are already failing. Each excuse you make, each boundary you ignore adds to the cost. She stops the spending early. For example, in a relationship, she may notice consistent lack of effort, delayed communication, or disrespect disguised as humor. Instead of waiting for a breaking point, she accepts the truth quietly. This person is not showing up in the way she needs. That acceptance may hurt for a short time, but it prevents long-term disappointment and resentment. In work or friendships, she recognizes when she has outgrown a space. Maybe her ideas are constantly dismissed, or her contributions are taken for granted. Rather than fighting for acknowledgement in the wrong environment, she accepts the truth and begins planning her next move. No bitterness, just clarity. This does not mean she is pessimistic or closed off. It means she is realistic. She understands that honesty with yourself is a form of self-respect. The sooner you accept what is, the sooner you regain control over what comes next. Many people avoid uncomfortable truths because they confuse acceptance with failure. She knows better. Acceptance is not giving up. It is choosing peace over prolonged confusion. By facing reality early, she frees herself from cycles that drain her energy and delay her growth. That wisdom does not make life easier in the moment, but it makes it lighter in the long run. Point 5. She studies people quietly and recalibrates access. Accordingly, ordinary women confront or complain. She recalibrates access. She understands that people reveal themselves best when they are not being challenged. That is why she watches quietly, not in a suspicious way, but in a thoughtful one that she pays attention to how people behave when they are comfortable, when they are stressed, and when they think no one is taking notes. Over time, patterns form and patterns tell the truth. She notices who respects boundaries naturally and who only behaves well when corrected. She sees who listens and who waits for their turn to talk. She observes who celebrates others sincerely and who feels threatened by someone else's progress. These details matter to her because they determine how close someone should be allowed to get. While many people confront the moment something feels off, she pauses. Confrontation can be useful, but it often gives people a chance to perform rather than reveal. Complaining, on the other hand, changes nothing and drains energy. She chooses a third option. She adjusts access. Recalibrating access means she does not announce changes. She simply shifts her availability, her openness, and her effort. Someone who consistently disrespects her time gets less of it. Someone who proves unreliable stops receiving important information. Someone who shows genuine care earns more presence and trust. The message is clear without a single argument. For example, if a friend constantly dismisses her concerns or minimizes her feelings, she does not beg to be understood. She notes the pattern and shares less of her inner world with that person. Conversations become lighter. Boundaries become firmer. The relationship finds its natural level. In professional settings, she may notice a colleague who takes credit or undermines others subtly. Instead of confronting publicly or complaining privately, she limits collaboration, documents her work, and becomes more selective about what she shares. Her position strengthens quietly. This approach protects her peace and preserves her power. It allows her to stay composed while still responding intelligently to reality. She understands that not everyone deserves the same level of access, and that access itself is influence. What makes this habit rare is the discipline it requires. It takes emotional control to not react immediately. It takes self-trust to act without external validation. Many try to copy the surface by staying silent, but they lack the awareness to adjust correctly. She does not pull away out of fear or pride. She simply aligns distance with behavior. That wisdom keeps her grounded, selective, and free from unnecessary conflict. 6. She does not announce growth. Her evolution is felt when old tactics fail. She understands that real growth is quiet. It does not need an announcement, a speech, or an explanation. Most people feel the urge to tell others how much they have changed, what they no longer tolerate, or who they have become. She does not. She lets her behavior do the talking. Her evolution shows up in small, consistent shifts. She no longer reacts the way she used to. She no longer explains herself to people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She no longer stays in conversations that drain her or situations that repeat the same disappointment. There is no dramatic exit, just a calm change in response. The interesting part is that most people do not notice at first. They continue using the same old tactics, the same guilt, the same pressure, the same emotional buttons. And for a while they are confused. What used to work suddenly does not land anymore. That is when her growth becomes visible. For example, someone who once relied on her patience may try to push boundaries again, expecting forgiveness or flexibility. Instead, they're met with calm firmness, no anger, no argument, just a clear shift in access and engagement. The tactic fails not because she fought it, but because she outgrew in professional spaces. She may stop over-explaining her ideas or proving her worth. She presents clearly, follows through, and lets outcomes speak. People who once dismissed her now struggle to influence her decisions, not because she became aggressive, but because she became grounded. This kind of growth cannot be faked because it requires internal change, not performance. Anyone can post about healing or talk about self-improvement. Very few can maintain new boundaries without applause. Very few can remain steady when tested. She does not seek recognition for evolving. She seeks alignment, and alignment shows itself through consistency. Over time, people either adjust to the new version of her or lose access altogether. Her evolution is undeniable, not because she announced it, but because the old games no longer work. That is how real growth reveals itself, quietly, steadily, and without asking for permission. Point 7. She treats solitude as a strategy, not a phase. Silence is where she sharpens judgment. She knows that being alone is not a punishment or something to escape from. Many people run from solitude because they mistake it for loneliness or weakness. She sees it differently. Solitude is her strategy. It is where she clears the noise, studies herself, and strengthens her mind. While others are distracted by opinions, drama, or unnecessary conversation, she is quietly building clarity and precision. In silence, she watches her own thoughts without interruption. She notices patterns in her emotions, actions, and reactions. She reflects on decisions that worked, ones that failed, and why. Most people only think about these things when forced or after suffering consequences. She does it proactively. Solitude allows her to sharpen judgment before chaos even appears. For example, in relationships, she may take a step back from constant interaction to understand the dynamics clearly. She watches how people behave in her absence. She observes who respects her space and who tests her patience. That quiet observation allows her to make choices calmly rather than reacting impulsively. In work or personal goals, she uses alone time to focus deeply. While others are busy proving themselves to the world, she is mastering skills, building knowledge, and creating strategies. This is why her actions are precise and often ahead of the curve. People may wonder how she seems so prepared or unshakable. The answer is in the quiet moments no one sees. This approach also protects her energy. Silence becomes a filter that prevents unnecessary drama and conflict from penetrating her mind. She chooses when to speak, when to act, and when to step back entirely. That discernment comes from spending time alone, observing, and learning. Treating solitude as a strategy is rare because it requires patience, discipline, and self-trust. It is not comfortable for everyone, but she thrives in it. While others fear stillness, she harnesses it. In her silence, she does not just wait. She sharpens, she plans, and she becomes untouchable in her clarity. That is why her judgment feels almost instinctive. It is earned in moments most people overlook. 8. She regulates her energy like currency. Not everyone deserves access, even if they ask politely. She understands something most people ignore. Energy is limited. Time is limited. Attention is limited. Treating them carelessly is expensive. She treats her energy like currency, spending it wisely, saving it when necessary, and never giving it away to those who will devalue it. Not everyone deserves access. no matter how polite or convincing they appear. She watches carefully who benefits from her attention and who drains it. Some people come with drama, demands, or hidden motives. Others offer nothing but noise. She does not argue or judge. She simply adjusts. If someone is repeatedly disrespectful, manipulative, or indifferent, she withdraws her energy quietly. That withdrawal is not punishment. It is protection. For example, in friendships, she may notice someone who only calls when they need a favor, but is absent in moments that matter. She does not confront them unnecessarily. She simply shares less of herself and invests in those who match her effort and respect. Over time, patterns become clear, and energy is spent where it actually counts. At work, she notices who is honest, who is reliable, and who acts with integrity. She does not give her focus to gossip, power plays, or people trying to manipulate outcomes. Her contributions go to projects and people that value them, maximizing her impact without unnecessary depletion. This habit is rare because it requires self-awareness and discipline. It means saying no without guilt, stepping back without drama, and trusting intuition over obligation. Many people spend energy on approval, argument, or social expectation. She does the opposite. She invests in herself, in clarity, and in situations that respect her boundaries. Her energy becomes her leverage. People learn quickly that access is earned, not requested. That approach keeps her focused, resilient, and unshakable. While others burn themselves out chasing validation or pleasing everyone, she moves forward with precision. She knows where to give, when to hold back, and who deserves her time. That wisdom cannot be copied because it comes from experience, observation, and a deep understanding of human behavior. Point 9. She lets people reveal themselves naturally. She understands that people reveal themselves best when they are not being forced. Most people try to expose others through questioning, tests, or confrontation, but that approach rarely works. It puts people on guard, triggers defensiveness, and often creates false impressions. She takes the opposite path. She observes, waits, and lets people show their true selves naturally. She watches words, actions, and choices over time. Small patterns tell the story. How someone treats service staff, responds under pressure, or handles disappointment reveals far more than any direct confrontation ever could. She does not need to provoke or challenge. The truth unfolds on its own. For example, a colleague may appear helpful at first, but subtle actions like taking credit for work or leaving others out of important updates show their priorities. Instead of calling them out immediately, she notes the pattern, adjusts her engagement, and lets future behavior confirm her observations. Similarly, in friendships, someone may present themselves as loyal, but their consistency in showing up during tough times will eventually reveal their true intentions. She allows that process to play out. This approach requires patience and emotional discipline. It is tempting to test or manipulate people to see their real colors, but she knows those tactics often backfire. People act differently when pressured, and false behaviors can be triggered. By letting them reveal themselves naturally, she sees genuine patterns without interference. This habit also protects her energy and reputation. She does not waste effort on drama or unnecessary confrontation. She reserves her time and attention for those whose actions align with honesty and integrity. Allowing people to show who they are rather than forcing exposure is subtle but powerful. It creates clarity, saves emotional energy, and ensures she builds relationships based on reality, not performance. It cannot be copied because it requires trust in observation, patience, and confidence in one's own judgment. Those who try to fake it often end up either revealing their impatience or misunderstanding the truth. She understands that time and careful attention are more revealing than any test, and that wisdom comes from watching quietly while others rush to prove themselves. 10. She chooses long-term impact over short-term emotion. She understands that emotions are like waves, powerful, intense, and fleeting. Most people let those waves dictate their choices, reacting in the moment and regretting it later. She does not. She steps back, breathes, and asks a simple question. How will this affect me tomorrow, next month, or even years from now? Her decisions are built on long-term impact, not temporary feeling. For example, in relationships, someone might hurt her deeply. The emotional instinct is to lash out, argue, or cut ties immediately. Many people do that only to find later that the fallout was harsher than necessary. She, on the other hand, takes a pause. She evaluates whether responding immediately changes the situation positively, or if waiting, observing, or choosing a different approach preserves her peace and her boundaries. Her decisions are deliberate, not reactive. The same principle applies to work, investments, and personal growth. A tempting shortcut may feel satisfying today, but she considers the future cost. Does this choice protect my reputation, my energy, or my goals long term? If the answer is no, she resists the urge, no matter how appealing the immediate reward seems. That kind of discipline is rare because it requires seeing beyond instinct and emotion into the consequences that most people ignore. This approach also prevents regret. By considering the long term, she avoids cycles of repeated mistakes and emotional debt. She does not rush to act, and she does not apologize for taking the time to think. Decisions are not about winning or being right in the moment. They are about preserving integrity, alignment, and clarity over time. What makes this habit extraordinary is the combination of emotional intelligence and strategic thinking. She feels deeply but acts wisely. She experiences life fully but does not let fleeting feelings hijack her trajectory. While others are reacting impulsively, she moves deliberately, quietly, building a life shaped by wisdom, foresight, and self-respect. Her choices are measured, grounded, and consistently aligned with long-term outcomes. That is why her path often looks effortless to outsiders. The secret is simple. She prioritizes what lasts over what satisfies for a moment. Point 11. She never overshares. Even with people she trusts, she understands that trust does not equal total exposure. Many people assume that if they feel safe with someone, they should reveal everything about themselves. She knows better. Even with people she trusts deeply, she chooses what to share, when to share it, and how much to reveal. Her life, thoughts, and emotions are not public property. Oversharing often feels like connection, but it comes with costs. Secrets, vulnerabilities, and inner thoughts can be used, misunderstood, or weaponized. She has learned the hard way that not everyone handles trust responsibly, and even the best intentions can backfire. By controlling what she reveals, she protects her peace and maintains her power. For example, she might have a friend she trusts completely, someone she has shared experiences with for years. Even then, she does not unload every fear, past mistake, or inner struggle. Instead, she shares selectively, enough to maintain connection and authenticity, but not so much that she loses leverage or becomes unnecessarily vulnerable. That restraint keeps her emotionally safe while allowing relationships to deepen naturally. In professional settings, this habit is even more crucial. She does not reveal frustrations, insecurities, or personal limitations to colleagues, even trusted ones. She communicates clearly, thoughtfully, and with integrity, but she keeps strategic control over what others know. That discipline allows her to navigate politics, negotiations, and collaboration without giving away power she may need later. This approach is rare because it requires self-awareness, patience, and confidence. Many people confuse openness with honesty. She knows that real honesty does not mean telling everything at once. It means choosing words and timing wisely. Trust is earned, yes, but it is also managed. Her restraint does not make her cold or distant. It makes her intelligent, composed, and unshakable. People may feel they know her fully, but the truth is she always keeps a part of herself protected. That wisdom cannot be copied because it comes from experience, discernment, and a deep understanding of human nature. She shares to connect, not to surrender, and that makes all the difference. Final Thought's real power is quiet, consistent, and invisible to those who only watch the surface. The habits we have explored are not flashy tricks or dramatic moves. They are deliberate ways of living, thinking, and responding that shape a woman's life from the inside out. Ordinary women may see pieces of it and try to imitate the actions, but they cannot copy the depth, discipline, and awareness behind them. These habits come from experience, reflection, and emotional intelligence, not imitation. She reads people, not just words. She understands tone, timing, and patterns, which reveals truth faster than any argument. She knows when to speak, when to stay quiet, and how to let others reveal themselves naturally. She invests her energy wisely, protecting it from those who would misuse it. She makes decisions for long-term impact, not temporary satisfaction, which keeps her ahead of cycles most people get trapped in. She values solitude as a tool to sharpen her judgment, and she controls what she shares even with those she trusts. The remarkable part is that none of this is loud. It is subtle. It does not seek recognition or applause. It works quietly, consistently, and powerfully. People notice the results, not the effort behind them. And that is where true influence lies. These habits cannot be copied because they are rooted in self-mastery. They are learned through reflection, observation, and intentional growth. Trying to mimic them without understanding the mindset is like trying to catch sunlight in your hands. The lesson is simple yet profound. Influence, power, and freedom are built from the inside. True strength is cultivated, protected, and applied wisely. That is what makes these habits extraordinary and impossible to replicate. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.